it's Jessii Vee, and today my shirt says, "Normal people scare me because true." I saw this shirt online and right away I was like, pretty much sums it up, doesn't it? Alright, so as you can see, I have a new backdrop behind me, and let me just explain it for a second. This is actually a really pretty blue butterfly on this very strange foresty background, and I was hoping you guys would be able to see the full butterfly, but now that I'm sitting in front of it, it looks like I have fairy wings, and that was not intentional. But they're also kind of crooked. I'm a crooked fairy because I'm not normal. Get it? Alright guys, because I have a new backdrop behind me, that means I'm going to be announcing the winner of last month's backdrop. That contest was on Instagram and the winner is Susanna_hee. So I have DM'd you, congratulations. And if you guys would like to win this new fairy wing butterfly backdrop behind me, all you have to do is be subscribed to this channel, so my Jessii Vee channel, turn on your notification bell, and then once again, head over to my Instagram. It's just Jessii Vee over there. Give it a follow and send me a DM telling me which fictional universe you would want to live in. It could be Hogwarts, it could be at Coraline's house, it could be at the Shire, it could be any fictional place. Where would you want to live? And I actually have a second contest this month, which I know is crazy. So do you guys remember that Coraline backdrop? Well, I chose a winner, I DM'd that winner, and that person didn't get back to me for weeks and weeks, and finally when they did, they were like, I don't really want it. And I was like, oh. So I've just held on to it, and I really wanted to give it away to someone again. So all you have to do to win that one is head over to my Cameo website and press become a fan. It's totally free. You don't have to buy anything. It's just so that I can increase my fan club over there, which I think is really, really cool. And then at the end of the month, I'll just go through that list of people who joined the fan club and I'll pick someone at random. So I will put a link to that down below. So basically you can enter to win this one on my Instagram or enter to win the Coraline over on my Cameo fan page. Let's start the video. Today we're going to be talking about creepy places that people found in real life. These are true stories. They found these very eerie, strange places, and the next day when they went back to show somebody, it was gone. So these are places that technically should not exist and may not exist. What if you passed an old-fashioned diner or motel on the road only to stop by on your return trip to find it completely gone? And like I said, it turns out these occurrences actually happen. Some people love exploring and finding creepy places, but they rarely expect their discoveries to vanish entirely without explanation. So these are some true stories of people that happened to. The first one is called Free Ghost Pizza. There was this guy who was staying at a friend's place in New York City. They were out of town, so he was babysitting their cat. At some point in the night, he realized he had not eaten dinner. He was super hungry and wanted to find somewhere to grab some food. Hurricane Sandy had recently come through, so many shops and restaurants were still closed in recovery mode. So he was walking around and was not able to find anything. So he started to walk back to the apartment to just order some delivery. When he walked by this random place, this woman was standing outside the door and she said to him, "Free pizza?" Now, he was not one to ever turn away from those words, so he turned to her and she repeated the phrase while opening the door to the small pizzeria. He ended up getting 2 large slices and headed back home for the night, stopping to give one of those slices to the doorman of the complex. The next day, he walked all down New York City and was not able to find any trace of this pizzeria that he had been to. So to this day, he calls this his ghost pizza story. How crazy is that? He went to the exact same street in New York City where this place was supposed to be, and it was gone. Next, we have a story called Follow the White Rabbit. This story is about a girl whose grandparents had a big farm when she was growing up, and all of the grandkids would help out there over the summer when they were out of school. And anytime they saw a rabbit, they were supposed to grab it so that it didn't eat any of the vegetables. So this girl was about 12 years old at the time, and one day she saw a white rabbit in the beans eating all of them. She did not want her grandfather to see it because he usually grabbed them. Sometimes it was not a good end for them. So she tried to chase it off instead. She ended up following it into the bushes, and for whatever reason, she just kept following it into the woods. She ran after it for a while until she found what was clearly an old, creepy barn ruin. Now, barn ruins were pretty normal to see in areas like the country that they were in, so she decided to go inside it. It was weirdly kept up really well with antique tools in great shape and also fresh hay. So she started to worry that maybe she had wandered into her neighbor's property. So when she got back, she asked her grandfather about it, and he said that there weren't any abandoned barns for miles and he had no idea what she was talking about. So he followed her out there and she was not able to find it ever again. So the rest of her life, it just drove her crazy as to where that old creepy barn went. Now there's another story called The Endless Hole, and it also involves a white rabbit. There was this other story about a girl who lived out in the country. One day she was out feeding her horses when she saw a white rabbit staring at her in the distance. It had these bright red eyes that almost glowed even in the daylight, and she felt compelled to follow it. But as she approached it, it started to run away. But because she was so curious, she continued to chase it. It took her to a giant hole in the ground and quickly scurried inside. The hole was probably 6 feet wide and was so dark that she had no idea how deep it could have gone. But what she'll never forget is as she stood there, she heard a deep whispering voice coming from the hole that said,
"Would you like to come in? We're waiting for you."
She was so startled that she ran back home to tell her father, and when she brought him back to the exact spot she found it, it was nowhere to be seen. Imagine hearing a creepy voice coming from a hole in the ground? No thank you. But this story kind of reminds me of like the rabbit hole to Wonderland, right? I guess you should just never follow white rabbits. So next we have a story called The Uneasy Feeling in a Cave. This is about a guy who was on a hiking trail that he went on very frequently. It was along the side of the Niagara Escarpment, so it had some climbable cliffs and some very shallow caves that you can crawl around on. He was with some friends when he was about 19 years old, and they found a cave that went pretty deep. Now, they had never been in there before and had never seen it before, so out of curiosity, they decided to check it out even though they had no flashlights at all. And this was also back when cell phones didn't have a flashlight function on them. They stepped into the cave and it was easily 20 to 30 degrees cooler on the inside. They started looking around and it seemed like a very clean cave. It didn't have beer cans all over the ground like the other ones did. It didn't have any graffiti on the walls. It looked crystal clear and actually perfect, like no one had ever found it before. While they were all standing in there, they suddenly got this very eerie feeling. They started hearing voices and things started poking them on the shoulder and on the back, and they weren't able to figure out who or what it was because it was pitch dark. So they ran out of there within a few minutes and decided to come back the next day with flashlights. Well, as they exited the cave, they realized that 4 hours had gone by, even though they only felt like they were in there for 10 minutes. So the next day they went back with the flashlights and were no longer able to find the cave. And since that happened, no one believes it. So that sucks. Imagine finding something and the next day you're not able to find it again. I would feel crazy. And lastly, we have a story called The Tunnel. This guy told a story about when he was 7 years old. He rode his bike into a tunnel under a 2-lane road, and when he emerged, he was in the desert. The path was still there, but it went straight off into the desert. There were a few cactus plants and it was hot and sunny, so he got freaked out and turned around and went back through the tunnel, and he emerged into his own hometown park where it was late afternoon, there was trees, it was November, and he looked back through the tunnel again and there was no longer a desert, it was just the rest of the normal road. How weird is that? Now I know this was a young kid and kids have very imaginative imaginations, but it's a pretty creepy thing that could happen to somebody. Anyway, so guys, those are all the places that people found that weren't there the next time they went to it. Now there are so many other stories, so I might make a part 2 to this because this is just fascinating to me. So if you guys want to hear more, definitely give this video a thumbs up and let me know. And don't forget, if you want to enter to win this backdrop, head over to my Instagram, send me a DM of which fictional universe you would want to live in. And if you would like the Coraline backdrop, head over to my Cameo and sign up to be a fan. And yeah, I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!